Hello and welcome. I am your host, and this is 35 Fox Talks. This is our second training room episode, and today we will talk about creating a training strategy before you create a training plan. A training strategy is the following. It establishes the goal of unit readiness a year from the present. It identifies the current training level of individuals, crews, and the collective unit. It backwards plans from the desired end state in order to identify dates available for training, what topics will be trained on those days, and what resources will be required to train. It identifies a lack of training time, allowing commanders to provide guidance on their training priorities. It provides predictability to trainers and soldiers since everyone sees who will be leading training on what topics over the year. A training strategy is not firmly fixed. It is a guiding document to help maintain a glide path. A training plan is the following. It typically constitutes a fiscal quarter of a training strategy or 3 months. It uses the Army 8-step training model to prepare and implement specific training courses and events. It is briefed at the T+6 or the next 6 weeks of training and the quarterly training brief, QTB, to show commanders what METL tasks are being improved and at what cost to unit resources. A training plan should be a firmly fixed event on the calendar. But the Army is the Army, and you should be prepared to adjust training plans and advise the commander how that impacts their training strategy. Example, let's pretend we are a UAV company, the mythical Grim Reaper company. The unit METL might be comprised of the following: conduct intelligence support to targeting, conduct UAV intelligence collection, conduct mission command. These inform the unit of their requirement to be a kill chain in the greater kill web of a joint all-domain force. Grim Reaper Company has 365 days before their National Training Center rotation and needs a 90% operational readiness rate with the ability to identify deliberate targets, support dynamic targeting, and call for fire across joint all-domain mission command information systems. Now, before we continue, we need to admit some hard truths about the realities of training. There is an express limit on time available. In 2016, AUSA published the article No Time Literally for All Requirements. This report originated from 2 different Army internal evaluations from 2002 and 2015. Auditors found soldiers required 514 training days per year to meet all training requirements and attain basic soldier proficiency based on their MOS and unit. That is double the 256 training days available in a standard 365-day calendar year. While the Army has undertaken efforts to reduce mandated training since the AUSA article's publication, the fact remains there are more training requirements than there is time to train. This fact is why commanders and team leads need to create training strategies that focus on core tasks and prioritize efforts. Units cannot do everything. Proficiency takes time. The question is, how much time? According to Gladwell in 2011, the answer is the average person needs to spend, on average, 10,000 hours to master a skill set. 10,000 hours is equal to about 1,250 8-hour workdays. This number divided by 256 training days suggests the average all-source analyst requires 4.9 years to master their MI craft. Naturally, this time requirement grows the less often all-source soldiers get to train on MI-specific tasks. A time investment of 4.9 years doesn't seem too bad until you account for the personnel turnover and force demographics of the Army. According to Pew Research, Social and Demographic Trends 2011, the DoD's average service term is 6.7 years. Viewed alongside the 4.9-year requirement to master all-source tasks, this means many all-source analysts do not stay in the Army long enough to master their current critical task list requirements. If they cannot spend every single day they are in the Army doing exclusively all-source tasks. The 2019 Demographics Profile of the Military Community from the Department of Defense 2019 indicates most all-source analysts are likely in the grade of E4 and below. Those analysts likely have only completed high school, and most of the Army's workforce leaves before they can become experts or trainers. This means that on a standard trained, proficient, or needs training scale, most individuals will remain in a proficient zone throughout their military service, and all teams will struggle to maintain a T for trained. There is no such thing as one and done with training that develops proficiency. If it takes 10,000 hours of executing to master a skill, there is a lot of repetition that must occur. The Army calls this sustainment training. Sustainment training reinforces skills, refreshes concepts, and restores forgotten tidbits. No matter how much you want to just do a lesson once, you are going to have to cover the same lesson repeatedly before individuals and teams coalesce concepts into muscle memory. If you need to be good at calling for fire, you can't train on it for only 40 hours a year. Just food for thought. Returning to our example scenario, we Fusionistas in the Grim Reaper Company have 256 training days to be at maximum readiness. Step 1. Consult the higher headquarters long-range training calendar. Doing so reveals we will lose 30 days to a field training exercise in preparation for NTC 60 days before departing for NTC. We will lose 14 days to a communications exercise, or COMEX, 90 days before departing for NTC. We will also lose a cumulative 60 days for supporting the exercises of other companies in the brigade and division. And finally, we will lose 14 days to things like Operation Clean Sweep Spring and Clean Sweep Fall, aka Area Beautification, for a total loss of 118 days of 35 Fox specific training. Step 2. Recover so-called lost training time by admitting 104 of those days are in fact training days. Days in which you can evaluate individual, crew, and collective readiness using METL evaluation forms. Training during these 104 days fulfills the sustainment training needs of repetition. The key is you and your soldiers must understand it as such and mark it on your training strategy. So really we have 108 days for sustainment training, evaluation of training, and validation, leaving us with 148 days of white space for 35 Fox specific training. Step 3. Subtract mandated Army training like driver's training, ranges, 350-1, motor stables/motor pool, airborne sustainment training, cybersecurity training, etc. If you lose roughly 1 day a week to this, you are going to lose 52 days from your training calendar. Step 4. Subtract administrative requirements like change of command inventories, DEERS enrollments, pay issues, Article 15s for soldiers who struggle to behave, and cumulatively you can easily lose 30 or more days. Step 5. Lament you have only 66 days of white space left on your calendar for dedicated 35 Fox specific training. And then recognize the Hey You taskings along with common soldier task training events haven't even been accounted for yet, and get even sadder. Step 6. Get creative with buying back training time. You don't have any more full days to dedicate to training, but in each day you will have a few hours here and there. So put together an awesome hip pocket training program. Between 66 dedicated days of 35 Fox training, 108 days of evaluation and collective training, and a few hours a day of hip pocket training here and there, you can get close to 200 days of overarching MI and common Army training. But here's the kicker. You will have to fight to get there, and you will need to be agile and creative. Step 7. Run a training event that allows you to identify the baseline proficiency of your soldiers and your team. Here is where all that MITS and STP stuff comes in handy because it tells you how to evaluate each soldier and team against their CTLs. Step 8. Crosswalk your CTLs to your METL to see what CTLs are essential for your mission. Step 9. See how good your soldiers' proficiencies are against these essential CTLs. Identify the weakest CTLs and prioritize them for dedicated classroom training. Identify CTLs with moderate proficiency and see what can be done to improve with hip pocket training by Foxes who display the best proficiencies in those areas. CTLs with high proficiencies can be sustained via the 108 days where the unit is committed to larger exercise events. Step 10. Research when courses are available, which training funds support which classes, put them on a calendar, and take the whole thing to First Sergeant before it ever hits the company training meeting. If it is good, the commander will approve and you can go from mission hard, making the training strategy, to mission difficult, making the training plans for the first quarter of training. But that is a tale for the next training room. Until then, stay safe and God bless.